Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Madame Ephema, one of the richest women in Lagos. She was not just rich in money, she was rich in respect too. Everyone in the city knew her name. She was the owner of several companies, a woman who built herself up after the death of her husband. People admired her strength, but many also feared her sharp tongue. She carried herself like a queen, always dressed in expensive lace and driving in the newest cars. But behind that strong image, Madame Ephema was a woman who valued loyalty more than gold. She trusted very few people, and the few she trusted, she guarded closely. Among those few was her personal driver, Chaik. For 3 years, Chaik had driven her to meetings, family gatherings, and church services. He was quiet, disciplined, and never spoke more than necessary. Madame Ephema respected him for that. She liked drivers who did not gossip. But lately, something about Chaik's behavior began to trouble her. One evening, after returning from a business meeting, she sat in the living room of her mansion, sipping tea. Her best friend, Ngozi, was visiting. Ngozi leaned forward and said in a low voice, "Ephema, I don't like how that your driver behaves these days. He always looks like he is hiding something. Are you sure he is trustworthy?" Madame Ephema frowned. "What do you mean by that? Chaik has been with me for years. He has never stolen a kobo from me. He doesn't even look at me twice. What exactly are you suggesting?" Ngozi adjusted her head tie and lowered her voice even more. "My sister, in this Lagos, it is the person you least expect that will sell you out. These days kidnapping is everywhere. You are too wealthy. Be careful. I noticed that once you step into this compound, that man doesn't waste time. He disappears immediately, as if he has something urgent to hide. What if he is going to meet dangerous people? What if he is giving them information about you?" The words hit Madame Ephema like a slap. She placed her cup down and looked out of the large glass window. She thought about it. Indeed, Chaik always left quickly after dropping her. He never hung around like other staff. He never joked or chatted with the security men. He simply drove her, parked the car, and the moment she entered the house, he would quietly say goodnight and leave. At first, she liked that. It showed discipline. But now that Ngozi had mentioned it, she could not help but feel uneasy. She turned back to her friend. "Ngozi, you know me. I don't just suspect people anyhow. But you are right about one thing. The man always looks troubled. Sometimes I see him staring into space when he thinks I am not watching. Maybe he has a secret. But if it is a secret that can harm me, I must find out." Ngozi placed her hand on Ephema's arm. "Better don't joke with your life. Too many rich people have been set up by their own staff. If he is hiding something, you must uncover it before it's too late." For the rest of that evening, Madame Ephema could not stop thinking about Chaik. The next morning, she left for a meeting. On the way, she sat at the back of the car watching her driver carefully. Chaik's eyes were focused on the road. His hands gripped the steering wheel firmly. He was a tall, well-built man in his late 30s, with sharp cheekbones and skin darkened by the sun. He drove with so much care it almost annoyed her. Not once did he answer a call while driving. Not once did he look left or right. She leaned forward. "Chaik." "Yes, madam," he answered without turning. "How long have you been with me now?" 3 years, madam. 3 years. And in these 3 years, I have never had a reason to complain. But let me ask you, why do you always rush off immediately after dropping me? Don't you have friends in this compound? Don't you ever sit to relax? Chaik hesitated. His lips tightened. "I like to go straight home, madam. I don't like wasting time." "Straight home? Every day? What are you rushing to do there?" His grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Just to rest, madam. That is all." Ephema studied him. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed something else. She noticed his jaw tightened, as though he was holding back words. She leaned back, pretending not to notice. But inside her, suspicion grew stronger. That evening, when they returned from the meeting, Ephema intentionally delayed coming out of the car. She wanted to see what Chaik would do. She sat still at the back seat, pretending to scroll through her phone. "Madam, we have reached," Chaik said, glancing through the rear mirror. "I know," she answered coldly, refusing to move. For almost 10 minutes she sat still. Finally, she opened the door and stepped down. She turned sharply, pretending to forget something inside the car, and saw it. Chaik had already switched off the engine, picked his small bag from under the seat, and was heading towards the gate with quick steps. She narrowed her eyes. Why is he always in such a hurry? Later that night, as she ate dinner alone, her mind kept wandering. Her daughter was abroad, her mansion was quiet, and only the ticking of the clock filled the silence. The words of Ngozi echoed in her head. What if he is giving them information about you? She slammed her spoon on the table. No, I cannot sit down and allow a stranger to fool me. If Chaik is hiding something, I will find out with my own eyes. The decision was made. She would not confront him yet. She would follow him, secretly. The following day, Ngozi visited again. Ifema told her about her plan. Ngozi gasped. You? A whole billionaire? Following your driver like a thief in the night? Ifema, is that safe? Ifema gave her a sharp look. Ngozi, don't forget that I did not build my empire by being careless. I must know the truth. If he is innocent, then I will have peace of mind. But if he is guilty, then at least I will catch him with my own eyes. Ngozi sighed. Just be careful, my sister. I don't want to hear bad news. Ifema gave a small, humorless smile. Don't worry. The hunter must be smarter than the prey. That evening, she prepared herself. Instead of taking her usual black SUV, she instructed one of her staff to bring out the older grey Lexus she rarely used. She wore a simple scarf to cover her head and dark glasses to hide her face. When Chaik drove her home and parked as usual, she pretended to go inside. But the moment he drove out of the gate, she slipped into the Lexus, instructed her security guard to open quietly, and followed at a safe distance. Her heart pounded as she gripped the steering wheel. She had never done something like this in her life. But the image of Chaik's quick steps, the way he always vanished without trace, pushed her forward. For the first time in years, Madame Ifema was not the billionaire boss giving orders. She was a woman filled with suspicion, chasing answers that could either break her heart or set her free. And as the taillights of Chaik's car disappeared into the busy Lagos streets, she whispered to herself, Chaik, what are you hiding from me? The night air in Lagos was heavy with car horns, dust, and the restless energy of a city that never slept. Madame Ifema gripped the steering wheel of her Lexus tightly, her eyes fixed on the taillights of Chaik's car ahead. Every second felt like a test of her courage. She was not a woman used to sneaking around. She was the one people feared, the one people followed. Yet here she was, trailing her own driver like a detective. Steady, Ifema, she whispered to herself, adjusting her scarf. Don't let him notice. The streets were crowded. Yellow buses swerved recklessly, motorcyclists weaved in and out of traffic, and hawkers knocked on car windows trying to sell sachet water, plantain chips, and newspapers. But Ifema had only one focus, Chaik's car. Chaik drove calmly, like a man with no worries. He didn't look into his rear mirror suspiciously. He didn't rush. He drove as if this was his normal routine. Ifema leaned forward in her seat, her heart racing. Where is this man going? She thought. Is he meeting with criminals? Is Ngozi right? Her phone buzzed suddenly. The sound startled her. She quickly pressed it silent. It was Ngozi calling. She ignored it. She could not afford distractions. As she followed, she noticed something strange. Chaik was not heading towards the high-class neighborhoods where many of her staff lived. He wasn't even going towards any club, bar, or flashy hotel. Instead, his car slipped deeper into the older parts of Lagos, where the roads grew narrow and the streetlights dim. Ife's eyes widened. What is he doing here? She muttered. Traffic slowed them down near a busy junction. Hawkers pushed against her car window. One young boy lifted up a pack of gala sausages and shouted, Auntie, buy something. She waved him away impatiently, her eyes never leaving Chaik's car. Finally, the traffic cleared, and Chaik turned off the main road into a smaller street. Efima followed, keeping a few cars between them. The road here was rough. Potholes filled with brown water made cars bounce up and down. The houses looked old, walls cracked, paint peeling. Small children ran barefoot, chasing each other in the dust. Women sat on wooden stools frying akara by the roadside. Efima's heart pounded harder. This was not a place she ever thought she would drive through in her life. At one point, she almost lost him when a bus blocked her lane. She panicked, gripping the wheel. "No, no, no," she hissed, craning her neck. But then, just in time, she saw his car turn into another street. Quickly, she maneuvered and followed. The deeper she went, the darker the streets became. Many houses had no lights. The smell of smoke, gutter water, and roasted corn filled the air. Efima whispered under her breath, "Chaik, what are you doing here?" Finally, his car slowed down. He pulled over beside a broken wooden fence and switched off his engine. Efima parked her Lexus a safe distance away, her hands trembling. She lowered her seat slightly, peering through the glass. Chaik stepped out, carrying a small nylon bag in his hand. He looked around briefly, then walked towards a small compound with a rusted gate barely hanging on its hinges. He pushed the gate open and disappeared inside. For a moment, Efima just sat there, frozen. This was no bar, no hotel, no meeting place for kidnappers. This was a slum house, the kind of place even her lowest staff would be ashamed to live in. Her eyes narrowed. Why here? She thought about getting down, but fear stopped her. What if someone recognized her? What if Chaik saw her and asked what she was doing here? So she sat quietly, watching, waiting. Minutes passed. She could hear distant voices of children playing, a woman calling out to sell roasted yam, and the loud buzzing of a generator nearby. But her focus was on the small compound Chaik had entered. At last, a faint light flickered on through one of the cracked windows. She leaned forward to get a better view. She could see shadows moving inside. Chaik's tall frame passed by the window, then bent down as if attending to someone. Her breathing quickened. "Who is he within there?" she whispered. She pulled off her dark glasses and strained her eyes. Through the broken curtain, she could see him kneeling beside what looked like a bed. His head was bowed. Then he stood, took something from the nylon bag, and handed it to an old woman sitting weakly at the edge of the bed. Efima's eyes widened. The old woman's face was pale, tired, and worn out from sickness. Chaik held her hand gently, speaking softly. Then, suddenly, a little boy ran into the room and threw himself into Chaik's arms. Efima gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The child's laughter rang faintly through the broken window, but it wasn't the laughter that shook her, it was the boy's face. Round cheeks, sharp chin, bright eyes. He looked almost exactly like her late brother, Obinna, when he was a child. Her hands began to tremble. "No, it cannot be. Am I seeing things?" Her chest tightened, and she pressed her back against the seat, her mind spinning. She wanted to drive away, to escape what her eyes were seeing. But she couldn't move. She sat frozen, staring at that small window, her whole body filled with confusion. Why would her driver be living in such a place? Who was that sick old woman? And that boy, why did he look like Obinna? Her heart thumped louder, louder, until she could hear nothing else. She whispered to herself, "Chaik, what are you hiding from me?" The city around her seemed to fade away. All she could see was that dimly lit room in the broken house, where her loyal driver was living a life she never imagined. And for the first time in many years, Madame Efima felt a fear she could not explain. The glow from the cracked window flickered weakly, throwing faint shadows on the dirty wall outside. Madame Efima sat in her Lexus, her heart pounding as though she had run miles. The air inside the car felt heavy, her hands damp against the steering wheel. She could not take her eyes off that broken curtain swaying slightly in the night breeze. Inside the small room, her driver, Chaik, bent down again. His tall figure blocked the light for a moment. When he moved aside, she saw the old woman lean back on the wooden bed. Her thin body shook as she coughed into her wrapper. Chaik quickly poured water into a cup and held it to her lips. Efima's throat tightened. This was not the picture she had expected to see. If Chaik had been meeting with criminals or carrying out some suspicious business, it would have made sense. But here he was, kneeling on a dusty floor, attending to a sick old woman like a son. The little boy jumped up and down on the weak mattress, his laughter filling the room faintly. Then he stopped, hugged Chaik tightly, and whispered something against his chest. Efima leaned forward, pressing her palm to the window glass of her car as though it would bring her closer. "Who is that boy?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why does he look like Obinna? Why?" She stayed there, frozen, as if trapped between two worlds. The world of her mansion, her wealth, her power, and this hidden world of dust, sickness, and a boy who carried her brother's face. Minutes dragged by like hours. She wanted to leave, but her legs refused to move. She wanted to confront Chaik immediately, but fear chained her. What if the truth broke her heart? What if this boy was indeed who she thought he was? Her mind wrestled with memories. She remembered Obinna as a young man, handsome, reckless, and proud. He was the one her parents spoiled, the one who wasted money, the one who destroyed relationships. Years ago, rumors had spread that Obinna left a woman pregnant and refused to take responsibility. Efima had never believed the story fully. She thought it was just gossip. But seeing this boy tonight, that rumor suddenly carried weight. Her phone buzzed again. Ngozi was calling. This time she picked up quickly but whispered sharply. "Efima, where are you? I've been calling." Ngozi's voice rang worriedly. "I can't talk now," Efima hissed. "Ngozi, you will not believe what I am seeing." "What is it? Did you follow him?" "Yes," Efima whispered, her eyes still locked on the window. "He didn't go to any hotel. He didn't go to meet with thieves. He came to a small, dirty house. There is a sick woman inside, and a boy. Ngozi, the boy looks like Obinna. Exactly like him. It's like I am seeing my brother's ghost." There was silence on the line. Then Ngozi gasped. "Obinna? As in your late brother? Are you sure?" "Efima, don't confuse yourself. I know my family's face when I see it," Efima said firmly, her voice shaking. "That child carries his blood. Ngozi, my whole body is shaking. What if my driver is hiding something this big from me? What if he has been raising Obinna's child all these years, and I never knew?" Ngozi's tone dropped. "This is serious. But don't rush, my sister. Don't do anything tonight. Just watch carefully. Then confront him tomorrow when your head is clear." Efima ended the call without replying. She could not think straight. Inside the room, Chaik now sat on the floor, the boy still wrapped around his neck. He took out some bread from the nylon bag, tore it into pieces, and gave some to the child. The old woman smiled weakly, resting her hand on Chaik's arm as if thanking him. Tears welled in Efima's eyes. She could not understand what she was feeling. Anger? Guilt? Fear? She muttered. "How can this be? My own blood living in this kind of place? And my driver? Why him? Why is he the one taking care of them?" Her heart felt like it would break out of her chest. She wanted to storm inside, demand answers, shake Chaik until he spoke. But her dignity held her back. A woman like her could not just walk into a slum and cause a scene. So she stayed hidden, watching from the shadows, her tears rolling slowly down her cheeks. The boy suddenly ran to the door, opened it, and stepped outside barefoot. Efima ducked low in her car, holding her breath. The child stood in the compound for a moment, chasing a moth that fluttered near the dim bulb hanging above the door. He laughed and clapped, his small teeth shining. For one brief second, his face turned directly towards the car. Efima's chest tightened. The boy's eyes, they were the same bright, mischievous eyes Obinna had when he was young. She covered her mouth to stifle a sob. The child then ran back inside, slamming the broken door shut behind him. Efima sat back in her seat, shaking her head in disbelief. "This is not ordinary," she whispered to herself. "This cannot be ordinary." She stayed there for almost an hour, just watching, thinking, struggling with herself. Every few minutes, she saw Chaik moving around, adjusting the woman's pillow, feeding her, cleaning the child's hands. He did everything with care, like a man who belonged there. Finally, the lights inside went off. Silence filled the compound. Ifema started her car quietly, her hands trembling on the steering. She drove off slowly, her mind spinning in circles. Back in her mansion, she sat in the living room long after midnight, the house too quiet for her troubled heart. She poured herself a glass of wine but barely touched it. Her eyes stared blankly at the chandelier above, but all she could see was the boy's face. Ngozi called again. "Well?" Ngozi's voice was sharp. "Did you leave? Did you find out more?" Ifema sighed deeply. "Ngozi, I saw enough. That child, he is not ordinary. I feel it in my bones. He looks like Obinna, just the way he was when we were small. Even the smile, even the eyes." Ngozi exhaled loudly. "So what will you do?" "I don't know," Ifema whispered. "But I must get answers. Tomorrow, I will call Chaik into my office. He will explain everything to me. And if he lies, I will know. This matter cannot sleep." She ended the call, leaned back, and finally allowed the tears she had been holding to fall freely. For the first time in many years, Madame Ifema felt powerless. That night, she barely slept. Her dreams were filled with images of Obinna laughing, Obinna disappearing, and the little boy calling out to her. She woke up restless, her pillow wet with tears. By morning, her decision was clear. She would not let this mystery rest another day. The next morning, Madame Ifema woke up with her head heavy, as if she had carried a mountain all night. Her eyes were red from crying, though she hated to admit it. She was a woman who never let emotions control her. She had built empires with her hands. She had stood tall after her husband's death. She had raised her daughter alone while fighting greedy relatives. But this matter, this secret about her driver, had shaken her in a way nothing else had. As she sat at the edge of her large bed, staring at the golden curtains swaying with the morning breeze, she whispered, "Today, I will get answers. Today, I will know the truth." She ate no breakfast. Instead, she sat in her private office at home, a wide space lined with bookshelves and glass cabinets filled with awards. The air was cool, the silence deep. She pressed the intercom button. "Tell Chaik to come and see me." Immediately, she said to her maid. "Yes, madam." Her fingers tapped the table nervously. A part of her wanted to cancel, to pretend she had seen nothing last night. But another part of her, the part that had built her empire, refused to let secrets live in the dark. Moments later, she heard a knock on the door. "Come in," she said firmly. Chaik stepped in, dressed in his neat uniform. He bowed slightly. "Good morning, madam." Ifema looked at him closely. His face was calm, his voice steady, but she could see faint shadows of tiredness under his eyes. "Sit down," she said, pointing to the chair across from her desk. He hesitated. "Madam, you don't usually ask me to sit." "I said sit down, Chaik," she cut him off sharply. He obeyed, lowering himself slowly into the chair. For a long moment, she just stared at him. The air grew thick. Chaik shifted uncomfortably, his hands clasped tightly together. Finally, she leaned forward. "Chaik, I followed you yesterday." His head shot up, his eyes widening. "Madam." "Don't interrupt me," she snapped. "I followed you. I saw where you went. I saw the house you entered. I saw the old woman. I saw the little boy. And now, I want the truth. Who are they?" Chaik swallowed hard. He looked down at his hands, then back at her. His lips parted but no words came out. "Answer me." Ifema slammed her palm on the desk. "Who are they to you? Speak." Chaik's voice trembled slightly. "Madam, I didn't mean to hide it from you. I only wanted to protect them." "Protect them? From who?" she pressed. "From shame," he said softly. Ifema narrowed her eyes. "What shame?" He took a deep breath, then looked straight into her eyes. That old woman is Madame Necker. Years ago, she was in a relationship with your late brother, Obina. Efima's chest tightened. Her nails dug into the armrest of her chair. Obina, she whispered. Don't you dare call his name carelessly in this matter. It is the truth, Chaik said quietly. She loved him. She got pregnant for him. But when she told him, he abandoned her. He left her to carry the burden alone. Lies! Efima shouted, standing to her feet. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. My brother may have had his flaws, but he was not a coward. He would never abandon a child. Chaik shook his head. He did, madam. He refused to accept her. She begged him. She cried. But he turned his back. She almost lost her mind. That is the shame I talk about. She was carrying his child, yet he left her to suffer alone. Efima's breath came in short gasps. Her face hardened. And the boy? That child I saw? Who is he? Chaik's voice broke slightly. He is the son of Obina. He is your nephew, madam. Silence filled the room. The words hung in the air like heavy stones. Efima's knees weakened. She slowly sank back into her chair, staring at Chaik as though he had spoken another language. My nephew, she whispered, almost to herself. Yes, madam, Chaik said. His name is Abub. Efima covered her face with her hands, her chest heaving. God, no. This cannot be true. This cannot be true. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them back fiercely. She would not break down before him. She lifted her head, her eyes sharp again. And you? What are you to them? Why are you the one caring for them like this? What is your role in this shameful story? Chaik's gaze dropped to the floor. I met Madame Necker years ago, after she had given birth. She was struggling. She had no one. People mocked her, called her names. I pitied her. I began to help. I brought food sometimes, money when I could. Over time, I became like family to them. Abub grew up calling me father, though I am not his blood. I never told him the truth. I didn't want him to carry the pain of knowing his father rejected him. You mean to tell me, Efima said slowly, her voice cold, that while I lived in comfort, my brother's child was growing up in a slum? And you, my driver. You knew all this time and never said a word to me. Chaik's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Madam, I feared you would hate him. I feared you would call him a bastard and throw him away like your brother did. I wanted to protect him from more rejection. Efima's chest burned. She slammed her fist on the table. Do you know who I am? Do you know what blood runs in my veins? That boy is my blood. My brother's child. And you kept him hidden from me like some dirty secret. Chaik raised his voice for the first time. Because your family rejected them before. I saw the way they treated her when she begged Obina's parents for help. They shut the door in her face. They called her names. They told her to go and look for the man that impregnated her. I was there, madam. I saw it. And I swore that I would never let Abub grow up thinking he was unwanted. The words struck Efima like lightning. Her heart pounded, her breath ragged. She remembered those years. She remembered her parents' whispers, the way they tried to bury rumors about Obina. She had been too busy building her life then to pay attention. Now the truth stared her in the face. She rose again, pacing the office. Her heels clicked sharply against the tiled floor. Chaik, do you know what you have done? She said in a low voice. You have carried a secret that belongs to me. You have hidden my nephew from me. You have made me live in ignorance all these years. Chaik bowed his head. I am sorry, madam. Truly sorry. But I did it to protect him. I did it to give him a chance to grow without shame. Efima stopped and looked at him. Her eyes filled with tears again, but her voice was firm. You should have trusted me. You should have told me. You think I am like the rest of them? You think I would throw away my own blood? Chaik's lips trembled. I didn't know, madam. Forgive me. For a long moment, the room was silent except for the sound of Efima's heavy breathing. Finally, she sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. "Obina, what have you done?" she whispered, her voice breaking. The image of her late brother flashed before her eyes. The charming smile, the reckless lifestyle, the arrogance. She had defended him countless times. She had loved him despite his flaws. But now, the truth about him burned like acid in her chest. Her brother had abandoned his own blood. And she, Madame Ephema, had lived years without knowing. Her shoulders shook. Tears slipped through her fingers. She was a billionaire, a woman of steel. But in this moment she felt like a child again, broken by the sins of her family. Across from her, Chaik sat quietly, his head bowed. He said nothing more. He let her cry. After what felt like forever, she wiped her face and looked up. Her eyes were swollen, but her voice carried a new strength. "Tomorrow," she said slowly, "you will take me to see that boy. You will take me to see my nephew properly. I will look him in the eye, and I will know for myself." Chaik nodded silently. Ephema's gaze hardened. "But hear me, Chaik. If you ever hide another truth from me again, I will not forgive you. Do you understand?" "Yes, madam," he whispered. That night, as Ephema sat alone in her room, she replayed the entire confrontation again and again. Every word, every tear, every revelation burned deep into her heart. Her world had changed in one morning. Her brother's ghost now carried a stain she could never erase. But one thing was clear: her nephew, Ibube, would no longer live in shadows. The morning sun shone through the mansion's wide glass windows, spilling light across the marble floor. Madame Ephema sat at her dining table, untouched food laid out before her. Her spoon rested in the plate, but she had no appetite. Her mind kept replaying the words from the day before, words that shattered everything she thought she knew. "My nephew. Obina abandoned them. He is your blood." She pressed her hand against her forehead, her chest heavy. How could Obina, her own brother, have done something so cruel? Her phone buzzed. Ngozi again. She picked up slowly. "Ephema," Ngozi's voice came urgently. "You didn't call me after yesterday. What happened? Did you confront him?" Ephema closed her eyes. "I did. He told me the truth. Ngozi, the boy is Obina's son. My brother's son. I saw him with my own eyes. His face, his eyes, everything." There was silence on the other end. Then Ngozi whispered, "Jesus Christ." "I couldn't sleep," Ephema said. "All night, I kept asking myself, how did I not know? How did I let my brother's blood live in suffering while I was here eating in gold plates? I feel like a wicked woman." "No," Ngozi said firmly. "You didn't know. Don't carry all the guilt. The one who should be blamed is Obina. He planted this pain, not you." But Ephema shook her head. "No, Ngozi. I should have asked questions years ago. I should have paid attention when rumors were flying. I buried it because I didn't want to stain my brother's name. I chose silence, and now look where it has led." Later that day, she summoned Chaik again. He entered the private sitting room quietly, his hands folded in front of him. "Sit," she ordered, her voice low. He obeyed. For a while, she just looked at him. Her eyes were red, her face pale. Finally, she spoke. "Tell me everything," she said. "No more hiding. Chaik, I want to hear it all. How it started. How it ended. How you came into the story. Every detail. If you lie, I will know." Chaik drew in a long breath, his shoulders rising and falling. His eyes met hers. "Madam, it is a painful story, but you must hear it if you want peace." "Then speak," she pressed. He began slowly, his voice steady but heavy. "Years ago, when your brother was still alive, he met Madame Necker. She was a trader at the market. Beautiful, hardworking, full of life. She loved him with her whole heart. And for a while, he made her believe he loved her too. But when she became pregnant, everything changed." Ephema clenched her fists. Chaik continued. "At first, she was happy. She thought the child would tie them closer. But when she told him, he grew angry. He said he wasn't ready. He told her to get rid of it. She refused. She said life was a gift. He walked out on her. Stop! Ephema cut in sharply, her voice breaking. Don't say it like that. My brother. He couldn't have. Chaik interrupted gently. I wish I was lying, madam. But it happened. I saw her. I saw how she suffered. She begged him. She ran after him in tears, holding her swollen belly. He turned his back. He left her in shame. Tears blurred Ephema's eyes. She bit her lip hard, trying not to cry out loud. Chaik's voice softened. When the pregnancy grew, her neighbors mocked her. They called her names. They said she was foolish to carry a man's child when he had rejected her. Even when she went to your parents for help, they denied her. They said Obinna was not the father. They called her a liar. Ephema gasped. My parents? Yes, Chaik nodded. I was there. She went to your family's compound in the rain. She knelt at the gate, begging them to accept her. They told her to leave. They shut the gate on her face. Ephema shook her head in disbelief, her tears flowing freely now. No, no, my father, my mother. They would never. They did, Chaik said firmly. They wanted to protect Obinna's name. They wanted to keep his image clean. So they threw her away. She almost died of heartbreak, but she refused to give up the child. She carried him to the end. The room was quiet except for the sound of Ephema's muffled sobs. Chaik went on, his tone filled with sorrow. When the boy was born, she named him Ebub, glory, because she believed one day he would shine despite the shame. But raising him was not easy. She had no money, no support. She worked small jobs, carrying loads at the market, washing people's clothes. Sometimes they went days without proper food. She would fall sick from stress but still refuse to give up. She lived only for that boy. Ephema buried her face in her hands, rocking slightly. God, forgive us. Chaik's voice grew heavier. When I met them, Ebub was just a small boy. I saw the hunger in his eyes. I saw the sickness in her body. I pitied them. I began to help. I was not rich, but I gave what I could. With time, the boy grew close to me. He called me father, and I could not break his heart by telling him the truth, that his real father was gone, and that his family had abandoned him before he was even born. Ephema lifted her head slowly, her eyes swollen with tears. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice trembling. Why, Chaik? For years, you worked in my house. You saw me. You could have spoken. You could have said something. Why did you choose silence? Chaik looked at her with steady eyes. His words were slow, deliberate, piercing. Because blood rejected blood, madam. Your family rejected him first. I was afraid you would do the same. The words landed like a knife in Ephema's chest. She gasped, pressing her hand against her heart. Her tears fell harder now, streaming down her face. She whispered, almost to herself, we abandoned him. We buried the truth. And you carried the burden we threw away. She broke down completely, her body shaking with sobs, the weight of guilt pressing heavily on her shoulders. The mansion was unusually quiet that morning. The staff moved carefully, sensing the heavy air around their madam. Madam Ephema sat in her private lounge, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her eyes staring at nothing. She had not slept properly in days. Her mind was fixed on one decision, a decision that would change everything. At last, she whispered to herself, I cannot let that boy remain in the shadows. He is my blood. He will not live as a secret anymore. She stood abruptly, her heels clicking across the polished marble floor. She pressed the intercom. Tell Chaik to come, she ordered. Moments later, Chaik appeared, bowing slightly. His face was weary, his eyes carrying the same quiet sadness that had haunted them since the truth came out. Madam, he said softly. Chaik, she began, her voice firm but laced with emotion. Today, you will bring them here. Both Madam Necker and the boy. I want them under my roof. I want the family to see him with their own eyes. Chaik's eyes widened. Madam, are you sure? You know your family. They will not accept this easily. Ephima's lips tightened. Let them not accept. I am not asking for their permission. I am doing what is right. A few hours later, the mansion's heavy gates opened. The security men exchanged surprised looks as Chaik's car drove in. It was not unusual for Chaik to return after dropping Madam. But this time he was not alone. In the back seat sat a thin, frail woman wrapped in a faded wrapper, Neka. Beside her was the boy, Ibube, his bright eyes darting around in awe as he took in the grand compound. The car stopped at the front of the house. Chaik rushed to open the door. Careful, Mama, he said, helping Neka out gently. She coughed weakly, her body trembling. Ibube jumped out next, his small slippers slapping against the tiles. He stared at the giant pillars of the house, his mouth wide open. Papa Chaik, he whispered loudly, tugging at Chaik's sleeve. This house is bigger than our whole street. Chaik gave a weak smile. Yes, Ibube. Show respect. This is Madam's house. At that moment, Madame Ephima appeared at the doorway, her regal figure framed by the sunlight. She wore a simple white gown, but her presence was commanding. Her eyes softened when they fell on the boy. She walked slowly towards them, her heels echoing in the compound. The staff peeped from the corners, whispering among themselves. Welcome, she said quietly, her gaze moving from Neka's tired face to Ibube's curious eyes. You are safe here now. Inside the mansion, she ordered the maids to prepare the guest wing. Fresh sheets, clean clothes, hot food. For the first time in years, Neka lay on a soft bed. Tears filled her eyes. Madam, she whispered hoarsely, I never thought I would step foot in this place. Not after what your family did to me. Ephima sat at her bedside, her eyes heavy with guilt. Forgive us, she said. I cannot change the past, but I can change today. You will not suffer again under my watch. Neka's lips trembled, but she said nothing more. Ibube, meanwhile, ran around the spacious room, his laughter bouncing off the walls. He stopped suddenly, turned to Ephima, and asked innocently, Auntie, is this really your house? Ephima's chest tightened. She bent down, cupping his small face in her hands. Yes, my son. And from today, it is your house too. The peace did not last long. News travels fast in families, especially in rich ones. That evening, her younger sister, Amora, stormed into the mansion, her face twisted with fury. Behind her came their eldest brother, Uche, tall and stern, his walking stick tapping loudly against the floor. Ephima! Amora's voice echoed through the lounge. What nonsense have I heard? That you brought that woman and her bastard child into this house? Tell me it is a lie. Ephima rose slowly from her chair, her eyes blazing. It is not a lie. He is Obina's son. He is our blood, and I will not hide him anymore. Uche slammed his stick on the floor. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what you are saying? That child is a disgrace. A reminder of Obina's shame. How dare you bring him here? Chaik, standing at a corner, clenched his fists but remained silent. The room grew hot with tension. Neka sat quietly on the sofa, coughing softly, while Ibube clung to her wrapper, his wide eyes darting between the shouting adults. Ephima's voice shook with anger. You call him a disgrace? You call him shame? He is a child, an innocent child who carries our blood. Are you so blinded by pride that you cannot see the truth? Amora hissed. Don't preach to us, Ephima. You always think you know better because you are rich, because you built an empire. But this is madness. If society hears of this, they will laugh at us. They will say the mighty family of Obina raised a bastard. Enough! Ephima thundered, her palm slamming against the table. I will not let you insult him again. That boy is not a bastard. He is Obina's son. Whether you like it or not, he is part of this family. The shouting grew louder. Uche pointed his stick at Neka. You, woman, after all these years, you dare step into this house again? Did we not warn you to stay away? Why did you bring your shame back to us? Neka's thin body shook. She coughed violently, struggling to catch her breath. Tears filled her eyes. "I never wanted to return," she whispered. "I only wanted my son to survive. If not for Chaik, we would have died. I never wanted your wealth. I only wanted recognition. But you shut the door in my face. You called me names. And yet, see how life has turned. It is me you call shameless now." Her words pierced the room like a blade. Silence fell for a moment. Then Amora spat angrily. "Pack her out, Ephema. If you want to disgrace yourself, do it outside this house. We will not carry her curse with us." Ibube suddenly stepped forward, his small fists clenched. His voice trembled but was loud enough. "Stop shouting at my mama," he cried. "She is not a curse. She is the best mama in the world. And Papa Chaik takes care of us. Not you. You don't know us, so don't insult us." The room froze. The boldness of the child left everyone speechless. Tears rolled down Ephema's cheeks as she bent down and pulled Ibube into her arms. She hugged him tightly. Her voice cracked as she turned to her siblings. "Do you see? Even this small boy has more courage than both of you. He speaks truth without fear. He protects his mother with pride. And you, grown adults, stand here blinded by shame." Uche shook his head angrily. "Ephema, you are destroying this family." "No," she shot back, her eyes blazing. "I am saving it. For too long, we buried secrets. For too long, we let pride blind us. But not anymore. That boy is our blood. Whether you like it or not, he belongs here." Her voice rose, firm and unshakable. "He is Obina's son. He is our blood. And I will protect him with everything I have." Her siblings stood in stunned silence, their faces twisted with anger and confusion. But Ephema's voice had cut through like fire. The battle lines had been drawn. The mansion felt colder after the confrontation. Though the air conditioners hummed as always, a chill hung in the halls. Staff moved silently, avoiding Madame Ephema's siblings, who still lingered in anger. That night, Ephema sat alone in her room, staring at a picture of her late brother Obina. She held the frame tightly, her eyes burning. "You left this boy behind," she whispered, her voice trembling. "And now they want me to throw him away too. But I will not." Her phone buzzed. It was Ngozi. "Ephema," Ngozi's voice was calm but worried. "I heard your family stormed your house today. The whole street is already talking. Are you sure you can handle this storm?" Ephema closed her eyes. "Let them talk. Let them gossip. I don't care. That boy is my nephew. I will not abandon him like the rest did." Ngozi sighed. "I admire you, my friend. But be careful. Your siblings will not keep quiet. They will fight you. They care more about the family name than the truth." "I am ready," Ephema said firmly. "Let them try me." The following morning, the battle began. Her brother Uche called a family meeting in their late parents' house. The grand dining hall was filled with familiar faces, her siblings, uncles, aunties, even cousins. They sat around the long table, their voices low, their expressions tense. When Ephema entered, silence fell. All eyes turned to her. Uche stood slowly, leaning on his walking stick. "Ephema," he began, his voice heavy with authority. "We called this meeting because of your reckless decision. You have dragged a stain into our home. You have brought shame into our bloodline." Ephema's eyes narrowed. "Shame? The only shame here is that a child of our blood has suffered in the shadows while we feasted in riches." Amora slammed her palm on the table. "Stop twisting words. That child is not our responsibility. He was born out of disgrace. If Obina refused him, why should we carry him now?" "Because Obina is dead." Ephema fired back. "And the boy is alive. Do you want the sins of the father to bury the son? Have you no heart?" Murmurs filled the hall. Some nodded in agreement with Ephema, but many shook their heads. One of her uncles, gray-haired and stern, cleared his throat. "Ephema, nobody is saying the boy should die, but to bring him into the family openly, to parade him around as Obina's child, Do you know what society will say? Do you know how this will damage our name? Ephima's lips tightened. Society? Is society more important than blood? Do strangers feed us? Do they breathe for us? Let them talk. I will not sacrifice truth on the altar of reputation. The room grew louder with arguments. Her siblings raised their voices, accusing her of pride, of seeking attention, of trying to look like a saint. At last, Uche's stick slammed on the floor. Enough, he thundered. Ephima, hear us clearly. If you continue down this path, you will stand alone. We will cut ties with you. We will not share our inheritance with that child. You may be rich, but you cannot carry this family name by yourself. Ephima rose slowly, her gaze sweeping across every face at the table. Her voice was steady, strong. Do what you will. Cut ties if you must. But know this, I would rather stand alone with truth than stand together with lies. Gasps filled the hall. She turned and walked out, her heels striking the floor with each step, her head held high. Back at her mansion, Chaik waited anxiously in the lounge. He rose when she entered. Madam, how did it go? She dropped her bag and sighed deeply. As expected. They threatened me. They called him a stain. They said they would cut me off. Chaik's jaw tightened. I am sorry, madam. I did not mean to bring you trouble. Ephima turned sharply to him. Stop saying that. This is not your fault. It is theirs. It is my brother's. You did what none of us had the courage to do. You cared for him. Don't apologize. Her voice softened. But now we must prepare. They will not stop. They will try to destroy us to protect their pride. And indeed, the storm came. Within a week, whispers spread across the city. Newspapers carried half-hidden stories about a secret child linked to the prestigious Obina family. Blogs twisted the story, some accusing Ephima of inventing the boy to gain sympathy, others accusing Chaik of manipulating her. One headline screamed, "Billionaire's driver brings love child into mansion. Is he after her wealth?" The words burned Ephima's eyes. She threw the paper aside angrily. Chaik, however, sat quietly in a corner, his face heavy with shame. Madam, he said slowly, maybe it is better if we leave. Maybe we should go back to the small house. I don't want to ruin your name. Ephima turned to him sharply. And where will you take them? Back to hunger? Back to suffering? No, Chaik. That boy belongs here. Let the world say what it likes. I will not hide him again. The pressure grew worse. At a charity gala, whispers followed her wherever she walked. Guests smiled politely to her face but murmured behind her back. Some even asked openly, Ephima, is it true what we read in the papers? She smiled tightly, refusing to answer. That night, she sat in her car, her chest heavy. She clenched her fists. So this is the price of truth, she whispered. But I will pay it. At home, little Abub ran into her arms, laughing. Auntie Mama, he shouted, his new nickname for her. She lifted him, hugging him tightly, her tears hidden in his hair. You don't know, my son, she whispered, how much war is raging because of you. But you are worth it. Neka, lying weakly in bed, reached out her hand. Madam, she whispered, maybe it is too much. Maybe it is better to let things be. But Ephima shook her head fiercely. No, you have carried shame long enough. I will not let you carry it anymore. I will fight for him. Even if the whole world turns against me, I will fight. The weeks dragged on, each one filled with battles. Her siblings spread more rumors, insisting Ephima was being used by her driver. Business partners questioned her judgment. Even church members whispered during service. One Sunday, after service, her pastor approached her. Sister Ephima, he said gently, many are talking. They say you are putting a stain on your family. Are you sure this is wise? Her eyes filled with fire. Pastor, tell me, is it unwise to take care of my brother's son? Is it unwise to give shelter to a child of my blood? If the church itself calls that unwise, then perhaps the church has forgotten what love is. The pastor bowed his head in silence. Back home, Chaik faced his own trials. Some staff whispered behind his back, accusing him of plotting to marry Madame Ephema or take her wealth. One even mocked him openly. "You think we don't know your plan? You will use that boy to climb into riches. But you will fail." Chaik clenched his fists but said nothing. That night, Ephema noticed his silence. "What is it, Chaik?" she asked. He hesitated, then shook his head. "It doesn't matter." "Tell me," she pressed. Finally, he sighed. "They say I am using you, that I brought the boy to trick you." Ephema's face hardened. She leaned closer, her voice fierce. "Let them talk. I know the truth. I know your heart, and that is enough for me." Her words broke him. He bowed his head, tears glistening in his eyes. But deep inside, Ephema felt the weight. Every day, the voices grew louder, her siblings, the public, even strangers. She stood strong, but the storm pressed hard. One night, alone in her room, she stared at herself in the mirror. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "How long can I carry this fight? How long before the world crushes me?" She closed her eyes, and the image of Abub's smile filled her mind. Slowly, her strength returned. "I will not break," she said firmly. "I will not." The house was too quiet, too heavy, too filled with the weight of sorrow. In the guest wing, Madame Necker lay weak on her bed, her breathing shallow. Her face was pale, her body frail, her coughs growing stronger every night. The doctors Ephema had brought shook their heads sadly. "We will do all we can," one said, "but her sickness has gone too far." Those words had broken Ephema's heart. Now she sat beside the bed, holding Necker's hand gently, her eyes swollen with tears. Beside her stood Abub, confused and frightened, clinging to the edge of the blanket. "Mama," Ephema whispered softly, "please stay strong. Don't leave him yet. Don't leave us yet." Necker coughed, her voice barely a whisper. "Madam, you have already done more than I ever dreamed. You gave me peace in my last days. But my time has come. Promise me you will take care of him." Ephema's tears rolled down her cheeks. She squeezed Necker's hand. "I promise. With my life, I promise." The boy tugged at Necker's wrapper. "Mama, don't sleep. Please. I need you." Necker stroked his cheek weakly. "My son, my Abub, don't cry. You are strong. You are brave. And from today, you will never be alone." Her eyes turned to Ephema. "He is yours now." Her chest rose one last time, then fell. Silence followed. Abub's cry pierced the air. "Mama, Mama, wake up. Please." Ephema pulled him into her arms, rocking him as tears streamed down her face. "It's okay, my son. It's okay. She is with God now. You still have me. You will always have me." Later that night, after the body had been taken away, a maid handed Ephema a folded note. "Madam," she said quietly, "we found this under her pillow." With trembling hands, Ephema opened it. The handwriting was shaky but clear. "To Madame Ephema, thank you for seeing us when the world refused. Thank you for giving me dignity in my last days. Please don't let Abub carry the shame I carried. Raise him with love. Let him know he belongs. May God bless you." Tears blurred Ephema's vision. She pressed the note to her chest, sobbing quietly. The next morning, word of Necker's death spread quickly. Her siblings came, not out of sympathy, but out of anger. Amora barged into the mansion, her voice sharp. "So it has come to this. That woman is dead, and now you want to use this child to replace her? Ephema, can't you see how you are dragging our name through the mud?" Uche followed, his walking stick tapping furiously. "Listen to me, Ephema. Enough is enough. Send the boy away. Let him go back to the streets. He is not part of us." Ephema stood tall in the living room, Abub clutching her gown, his eyes red from crying. Her gaze was fierce, her voice unshakable. "Say what you want," she said coldly, "but hear me today. This boy is my blood. He will not go back to the streets. He will not live in shame again. He is Obina's son. And from this day, he is mine. Amora laughed bitterly. Yours? Do you want to adopt your driver's pet project? Do you want people to laugh at you? Efima's eyes flashed. Let them laugh. Let the whole world laugh. Their laughter will not kill me, but abandoning him will kill my soul. She pulled Abube closer, wiping his tears. Look at him. Look at his face. He is Obina's image. You can deny it all you want, but blood cannot lie. I will not throw him away. Uche raised his stick, pointing at her. Then you stand alone, Efima. Don't count on us when people turn against you. Her chin lifted proudly. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I have enough to carry him, to raise him, to protect him. You may turn your backs, but I will never turn mine. The argument grew louder, voices clashing in the mansion. Abube buried his face against her gown, trembling. Finally, Efima shouted, her voice ringing like thunder. Enough! All of you, leave my house. Leave now. If you cannot stand with truth, then get out of my sight. Her siblings stormed out angrily, muttering curses and threats. When the door slammed shut, silence filled the room again. Efima looked down at Abube. He looked back up at her with tear-filled eyes. Auntie, his voice cracked. Are you going to leave me too? Her heart shattered. She knelt before him, holding his small hands tightly. No, my son. Never. From today, I am your Auntie Mama, and I will never let you go. The boy's lips trembled. Then he whispered, Auntie Mama. The words pierced Efima's heart. She pulled him into her arms, crying openly, her tears soaking his hair. Yes, my son. Auntie Mama is here, and I will always be here. At that moment, the weight of years lifted from her chest. For the first time since Obina's death, she felt peace, not because of her wealth, not because of her reputation, but because she had chosen love over pride. Weeks later, at a quiet gathering with lawyers present, Efima signed the papers. Abube was no longer just her nephew in secret. He was legally her son. As she held the signed documents in her hand, her eyes filled with tears again. She looked at the boy sitting beside her, swinging his legs on the chair, smiling shyly. She whispered to herself, he may have been forgotten by Obina, but he will never be forgotten by me. That night, she walked into her private lounge, the note from Necker in her hand, and stood by the window overlooking the city lights. She thought about the journey, the suspicion, the secret following, the shabby house, the truth that broke her heart, the fights with her siblings, and the choice she finally made. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they were not tears of shame. They were tears of redemption. She whispered into the night, Rest now, Necker. Rest now, Obina. I have him. He is safe. He will shine. And he will never walk alone again.